Ayan. So again, good morning, okay, class. So this is the second lesson of our second grading in EAPP. So we have finished with the midterm. We are in the finals na. With this, of course, the first lesson was given to you asynchronously because last week there was some issues. Hindi naman issues, but there were some personal matters I needed to attend to. I hopefully you understood the video and the slides well. Um, and reading through your reaction papers or dun sa mga nagpasa ng reaction papers, mukhang okay naman ang progress natin. So, that's good. So, if you're not too confident on your knowledge of uh, reaction papers, you can go back, watch the video, and learn more from there. So, bago tayo magsimula or before we start our lesson, maglalaro lang po tayo. I know you're familiar with the game 4 picks 1 word. Okay? So, this time, we're just going to play a variation of that game called 4 picks 1 artwork. 4 picks 1 artwork, of course, uh, is when you will be shown, ayan, may mechanics po tayo. 4 pictures will be shown on the screen, and you have to guess the name of the artwork using the pictures as clues. So these artworks are fairly popular or fairly known throughout the world. Um, I believe some of them are the most popular. And if you're not sure about the name of that artwork, you can deduce or you can guess the name of that artwork through the pictures that I'm going to give you. Okay? So, if you know the answer, you can open your mic and reveal your answer, or you can chat it in the chat box if your mic is not working. Okay? So, yan po. So, let's start our game or let's start our 4 picks 1 artwork. So, this is the first set of photos. So, sino kaya ito? Ayan. So, there are two people here. Ayan. So, sabi ni Carl ay si Mona Lisa. Is Carl correct? Yes, this is the Mona Lisa. Tignan natin. So, the clues are, it is in France. If you did not know, the Mona Lisa is in a museum called the Louvre. Okay, it is in the Louvre, which is a museum in France that houses some of the greatest artworks in European history. Now, bakit Lisa? Si Lisa po, ayan. Hindi ko actually nagpaturo pa ako, hindi ko kasi siya kilala. Hindi maka K-pop si Ma'am pag pasensyahan niyo na. But this is the Mona Lisa. Okay? So, excuse me. So the Mona Lisa, of course, painted by Leonardo da Vinci. So, as much as I would like to believe the things I've read in the Da Vinci Code and all of that, wag po kayong maniniwala, wala pong hidden meaning sa likod ng um, siguro meron, but uh, it's more of an artistic meaning and not that it's nothing to be decoded too deeply. Okay? So, and 'di ba wala siyang kilay? Fun fact, it has been discovered that at some point, because of some X-ray analysis and through art experts, at some point may kilay po si Mona Lisa, nabura lang throughout time. Okay? So, ayan. Again, the Mona Lisa painted by Leonardo da Vinci. Next, sino po kaya? Ano po kaya ang pangalan ng next ano natin? You can start guessing, you can start ano. Ayan, sabi ni Krypton, the Starry Night. Is Krypton correct? Okay, so correct po tayo. This is Starry Night, painted by Vincent van Gogh, or in the English pronunciation, Vincent van Gogh. So, Vincent is a Dutch painter. Isa po siya sa one of the most famous painters. Unfortunately, nung nabubuhay siya, hindi po siya ganun ka-popular. Isa yun sa mga naging challenge sa kanyang artistic career na hindi siya naging popular as an artist while he was still alive. But in the in the wake of his death, nung na-discover yung mga paintings niya, the uniqueness of how he painted, he's now regarded as one of the greatest painters of all time. It's just a pity na hindi siya na-recognize nung buhay pa siya. Parang a little too late na. Pero ayan po, isa sa kanyang pinaka-popular paintings, The Starry Night. May kanta po tungkol diyan, may kanta po tungkol sa buhay ni Vincent van Gogh. Ang ano po, ang title po ay Vincent. Hanapin niyo na lang po sa YouTube. Hindi ako kumakanta, ayan. So next, ayan, siguro alam natin 'to 'no, the tapos merong ano, may isang word or may something. Ayan. So ano, ayan, Krypton again coming in with the answer, the Scream. So the Scream, ayan po, painted by Edvard Munch. Isa po itong impressionistic painting, meaning it's an expression of what is going on in the mind of Edvard as he's painting this. It's also a very autobiographical painting because it expresses some of the feelings and mental state of Munch during the time of this painting. Okay? So these paintings I've shown you, I think we have one more. Ayan, so one more. This is a little less popular or a little less known. It's not as it's not as known as the other uh, three. I personally don't know much about this next painting. So ano kaya ang pangalan? So the again, and then there are ayan. Ano kayang pangalan? Ayan, sabi naman ni Carl, The Kiss. At patanong, The Lips. Okay, tama na po yung The Kiss. Ayan. So again, it is what we call an abstract or a mosaic painting compiled by, I forgot the name of the painter. I'm sure I'll remember it later. Share ko sa inyo pag naalala ko. Pero yan po sa it's not as popular as the rest, but it shows a couple or a young couple embracing and the man kissing the woman on the cheek. So yeah, the kiss po. So I believe this was painted in one of the more impressionistic or romantic eras of art. Okay, so yan po. So those are the artworks that those are the answers for our four picks, one artwork. So of course, hindi ko kayo pag ano, ayan, Gustav. Oh, tama si Gustav nga yung nag ano ng The Kiss. Thank you for mentioning that, uh, Gail. So ayan po. Today we're going to be learning about writing a critique on art. That's why I showed you different artworks and different backgrounds of those artworks. So writing a critique on art, in academic writing, it's important for us to write critiques of certain works of art and literature to express our opinion. So last week we were expressing our opinion of different pieces of media. Okay? So those different pieces of media are the songs, the songs, the comics, the videos. So that's generalized in the reaction paper. Now we're going to learn how to write a specific type of reaction paper, which is the critique paper on art. Okay? So writing a critique on art, it's important that we know how to do this, so we know how to give criticism and we know how to analyze pieces of art even without words. Okay? So it really helps us express ourselves critically. It really helps express ourselves um, or our analysis or analyze works of art or pieces of media. So yan po. So let's go to our lesson objectives. Of course, every lesson has its objectives, and today we are just going to go through our objectives or the things we're trying to achieve for this lesson. So first, identify the steps in writing a critique paper. We do have different steps and a process. Next, determine the types and approaches of art criticism and construct a critique paper on a particular artwork. Of course, since our lesson is writing a critique paper, at the end of the lesson, you should be able to write your own critique paper. Okay? So, meron po tayong different approaches to art criticism. We'll discuss that one by one later. So, those are our lesson objectives. Let's get on to our lesson. So, first, what is a critique paper? A critique paper is an analysis and evaluation of a person's work, which may include a piece of literary work, a political work, or a philosophical theory. Now, a critique paper is not limited to critiquing art. Okay? Specifically, sa lesson na to, we are critiquing art. But you can critique other things. Okay? You can critique a show, a movie, a photo, okay? So you can give your own criticism of those things. All right? But specifically, okay, but specifically for this lesson, we are going to critique art. So remember, you're going to give an analysis and an evaluation. And vice versa. Hindi pwedeng puro evaluation lang tayo. We are also going to give our own interpretation of this artwork. What does this piece of media, or what does this piece of art mean? All right? So that's the main point of a critique paper. Next, a critique paper may be in a form of a critical essay evaluating a central issue and highlighting both strengths and weaknesses of a certain artwork. So a critique paper ay of course, in this context, essay po ang susulat nyo. But sometimes, a critique paper can take the part of a very well thought out thesis. Share ko lang, in our master's program, if you choose to have a thesis based on, a thesis that is based on literature, you're going to essentially write a very long critique paper. So, naka-ano siya, naka-thesis format siya, pero critique paper pa rin yung, ano niya, yung basis niya. So, sa inyo, huwag kayong mag-alala, you're just going to be writing a critical essay, which will be three-part essay, which has a body and intro. An intro, a body, and a conclusion. So, you are going to be evaluating a central issue. In this case, it will be a piece of art. So, I'd like to also take note of this phrase, highlighting both strengths and weaknesses. So, there are times when we are sort of caught, or we are uh, distracted by the duality of certain things. When I say duality, yung pagiging binary natin na something is either good or bad, and there is no in between. That's what we mean by duality. Na may dark, may light, but there is no gray. May black, may white, but there is nothing in between. Which in writing a critique paper is wrong. Okay? In writing a critique paper, we have to highlight and we have to analyze both the strengths and weaknesses. Okay? So if you don't like something, if you don't like a certain piece of art, of course you have to explain why you don't like it, but you also need to look at the strengths. Hindi puro weakness ang titignan natin. Okay? So let's try not to be distracted by the duality of our opinions. Hindi porket pangit, pangit lang talaga. Maybe there are some strengths in that type of art. Or hindi porket maganda, maganda lang talaga. Maybe there are some weaknesses to that piece of art. Okay? So please take note of that. Next, the critique paper. A critique paper shows evidence for specific topic on review through a description of data. When we say it shows evidence, we are taking some points of discussion, or we are taking some descriptions of the piece of art that we are critiquing, or any piece of media that we're critiquing, and we're going to describe them. Okay, we're going to describe them and give a certain review. For example, this statue. Okay, I'm going to describe the face. I'm going to describe the head of this statue. Okay, so the head of the statue has curly hair, um, uh, a pointed nose, and a serious expression in the eyes. Okay, so yun yung description. And then you're going to give a review or an analysis of that description. And as you can see, in the seriousness of the expression of the statue, and he is looking far away. It seems that he is thinking, or he is pondering something quite philosophical or quite deep. Okay? So, ganun po. You give a description and you give an analysis of that description. So, we go on to the steps. So, we've identified what is a critique paper, we have defined it, we have described it. So, what are the steps in writing a critique paper? The first is to introduce the work you are critiquing. Of course, we need to introduce, katulad ng sa ating reaction paper like the last lesson, you need to tell the reader, you need to tell me what work you are critiquing. Give the name of the author, or the painter or the maker of that artwork, and the date of publication or when and where they created that, because it makes a difference, because there needs to be a context to that artwork. Okay, so and a brief summary of the arguments that the author makes, or a brief description of the painting. So in the painting, you can say the painting depicts a woman um, wearing black. Ayan. So kayo po ang bahala. Basta i-describe nyo. Kasi syempre, pag nagpasa kayo ng essay, hindi ko naman makikita yung inyong artwork na kinikritik. So, kailangan i-describe nyo talaga na mabuti yung, or magbigay ka ng short description ng um, artwork na yun. So that's the first. Of course, when you introduce the work you are critiquing, this can be found in our introduction. The next step is offer you a brief opinion of your own to entice the reader. So all this, your brief opinion is also found in the introduction, and you write your own opinion about uh, the work, how the work was, or why the work was flawed or irrelevant. So there are excuse me. So what you're going to do is you give your brief opinion in the introduction, and once you are in the and once you are ready to transition to the body, you start writing your own opinion and your own analysis of why the work has its own strengths and its own weaknesses. Okay, so that's step 2. Tandaan, step 1, introduce the work. Step 2, offer your brief opinion. And step 3, back up your opinion with just a few sentences that give a general overview of your analysis. So you're going to this is when you're building your thesis statement na kasi. Okay? So, these can all be found in the introduction as well. This is when you're going to build your thesis statement as to what you really think about that painting. Do you think it's wonderful? Do you think it's beautiful? Do you think that it lacks color? Do you think that it needs more life? Do you think that it is offensive? Or do you think that it's just ugly? So it's up to you, okay, how you're going to build your thesis statement. And once you have your thesis statement, okay, you state that thesis. This may just be one sentence or several, depending on the length and complexity of your argument. Guys, ang thesis statement, wag po kayo matatrap na isang sentence lang, ha, because I've seen that you're sort of pressured to trap your thesis statement into only one sentence. So as much as possible, try to give more of your opinion. Try to express it in more than one sentence. Okay? So the thesis statement is your big point, and you should give the reader a taste of your overall conclusion. So, tandaan, this is all happening while you're drafting the critique paper. Okay? So, you're writing your thesis, you're making sure that you're expressing your opinion on the work, and this is all happening while you're drafting your critique paper. So, ayan po. So, yan. After you have done all of these steps, you can go on to writing the final part of your critique paper. Tandaan, a critique paper is a 3-part essay. You have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. Every time you And for every point or every argument that you reveal in your introduction, you need to explain it in the body. And of course, you need to summarize it and close it with a conclusion. Okay? So, ganun po ang ating critique paper. Wait lang. Now, let's go on to the types of art criticism. So, art criticism specifically is is a means of analyzing and evaluating a particular work of art in order to comprehend the intentions of the artist. So, we're going to look at art specifically to look at what is the message, what is the intention, what is the goal of the artist in creating this piece of art. Okay? So, for example, I believe this issue in the art world, or in our country, really went viral a few months or about a year ago, when Richard Gomez, a celebrity, yung nagpainting siya ng phallic or ng um, sensitive part ng isang lalaki, and he presented it as an artwork, and a lot of people were very very offended, saying, no, this is not art, this is ano, kababuyan yan, you just painted the man's phallus, ganyan ganyan. But people were defending him, saying that no, his goal is to express his artwork, and if this is his art form, wag natin siyang pigilan, ganyan ganyan. So that is a form of criticism. uh, Having those opinions, having those inputs into a certain piece of art, that is a form of criticism. Okay? So as much as possible, let's try to accept art as what it is. Um, Tandaan, art can be defined as a highest form, as something that triggers a higher form of thinking. Okay, so whether it is a video game, a movie, different medias like a statue, a painting, if it triggers a higher form of thinking, it can be considered art. Okay. Next, art criticism may be applied in genres like, yeah, performing arts and visual arts. Okay, so we have performing arts. Let's differentiate. Of course, performing arts refers to the forms of art where an artist uses his own face, body, and presence. It may include plays, dances, operas, live music, film, puppet shows, spoken poetry, and drama. So, performing arts is not limited to sculptures and painting. So, ito yung mga pinoperform. From the word performing arts, so you were performing this. We're using our own humanity, ourselves, to perform art. So, yung mga singer na gusto-gusto natin, yung mga musicals, yan. Yan po ay mga performing art. Kahit puppet show, ayan, di ba? Puppet show, they are part of performing art. Okay? So, it's different from visual arts, because visual arts can be just still art. Ito yung tinatawag nating still. Pag sinabing still, hindi gumagalaw. Hindi ka nakakapag-interact dun sa art na yon. So these are paintings, wood cuttings or sculptures, crafts, stained glass, mosaic, photography, ayan. So this can also paintings, they can be uh, digital, they can be oil, they can be acrylic. So any type of media that is still art. Okay? Still, STILL, still. Okay? Hindi gumagalaw, hindi tayo nakakapag-interact doon sa art na yon. That is visual arts. Kapag performing arts naman po, we are using our body, our face, our presence, our talents to perform. Okay? Kanta, sayaw, etc. Okay? Yun po. Just an addition, a lot of people, most commonly, when we are critiquing pieces of art, we tend to prefer critiquing visual arts. Pero, if you want to really give a good analysis, it's better if you choose a performing art, because there are a lot more elements and a lot more complexities that we can analyze in performing arts. Hindi ko sinasabing hindi complex ang visual arts, but uh, it's high performing arts are highly regarded as very complex. Okay? So yan po. So art criticism approaches. This is what I was talking to you about late earlier, that we have different approaches to art criticism. So paano, when we say approaches, this is how we approach or how we view a certain artwork and how we analyze that certain artwork. So iba-iba po kasi, kumbaga ito yung angulo kung saan mo titignan yung artwork na yun. Are we going to see this artwork um as just the artwork itself? Or i-analyze ba natin to as an extension of the life of the artist? Are we going to analyze this as a product of society? Kasi minsan uh, or kadalasan, a lot of artwork that we see are products of context. When we say something is a product of context, nang-impluwensyahan siya ng time and place and life ng author or nung artist. So, tignan natin kung anong art criticism approaches ang pwede nating i-apply when we are writing our art criticism. Yeah. So, first is the formalism. So, there are three philosophies. These three philosophies are brought to us by Edmund Burke Feldman. He is a renowned art critic or a renowned writer in the art industry. So, ayan po. So, Formalism. When we say formalism, it stresses the importance of the formal qualities and the visual elements of the art. Nagkakaroon po tayo ng nagkakaroon po tayo ng confusion dito. When you say formalism, yes, it comes from the root word is formal, but it's not the type of formal where yung attire na formal na ano, or yung language na formal. It comes from the word, it stems from the word form. Okay? When we say form, we are looking at the painting. Kung ano yung mga visual aspects, kung ano yung mga nakikita natin sa painting lang mismo. Hindi tayo titingin sa buhay ni author, hindi tayo titingin sa kung kailan at saan siya dinrawing or pinainting. Titignan lang natin yung artwork mismo at yun lang ang i-analyze natin. We are going to look at the artwork as a separate piece of art itself or a separate piece of life, and we are going to write a review on what we see in the artwork. Yun lang. Makikita lang natin kung ano, i-criticize, bibigyan lang natin ng strengths and weaknesses yung artwork, okay, bilang artwork at hindi bilang produkto ng isang artist. Okay? So, titingnan lang natin siya by itself. Ang strengths po ng formalism is that it's quite easy because you don't have to what? You don't have to research a lot about your artist. You don't have to say anything about the context of where and when it was painted. Kailangan nyo lang tignan yung artwork at magsabi na, oh, the Mona Lisa is a beautiful painting. The brush strokes are consistent. The woman is quite lovely. Kasi yun lang yung nakikita nyo sa painting. But, again, take note, you cannot add anything else. Yun naman ang ating limitations. Yun ang weakness ng formalism. There is not much complexity. Hindi po, so, simple lang po siya. Okay? So, hindi tayo masyadong if you want to write a fairly long critique of a certain work, you can't do that with formalism. Formalism by nature is a little bit shorter because you are only limited to what you see in that artwork. Next, expressivism. Now, it comes from the word express, which is an approach that stresses the importance of the communication of ideas and feelings in a convincing and forceful manner. When we say expressivism comes from the word express, of course, the communication of ideas. We are trying to analyze what ideas the artist is trying to communicate within that artwork. Okay? Anong gustong sabihin ni Leonardo da Vinci nung pinainting niya pinaint niya ang Mona Lisa? Ano yung expressivism or ano yung tinatry na i-express ni Richard Gomez nung pinainting niya yung pinaint niya yung phallic portrait na yun, 'di ba? What is the message? What are the ideas that this artist is trying to communicate? Okay? So, that is, magkaiba siya. Formalism, titignan mo lang yung artwork. Sa expressivism, titignan mo yung artwork and then you're going to analyze it in a way that you try to figure out kung ano yung ibig sabihin nun. Kung ano yung gustong sabihin ng artist or ano yung message ni artist doon sa painting na yon or doon sa sculpture na yon. Okay? So, for example, if you're familiar with Andy Warhol, yung nagdrawing siya ng yung soup, 'di ba? So, yung Campbell soup can. You can search it on Google. So, we can analyze that in the expressivism approach as he's trying to what is Andy Warhol trying to tell us when he painted a can of soup. Kasi literal na can of soup lang yung ano niya eh. Talagang lata lang na nakalagay Campbell soup. So, anong gustong sabihin ni Andy Warhol dito? Which brings me to the strengths and weaknesses of expressivism. The strength, of course, is that it's complex and the analysis that you're going to get is very rich. And if you can research about the author and his life and what he was going through, it gives us a very good understanding of art and the artist. But the weakness is that there is a lot of research to go through. Okay, so if you're not a research type of person, medyo mahihirapan tayo sa expressivism because a lot of paintings, especially now, uh, especially the classics, a lot of those, the painters or the sculptors or the artists have already moved on to the next life. They've already died or passed away. So, hindi na natin sila mai-interview or hindi na natin sila mabibigyan na or hindi na sila na-interview or hindi na sila makakapagbigay ng statement as to what they were trying to say. So, it's a very research-heavy type of approach. Okay? But, again, it's rich and complex. So, kung gusto niyo talagang may malaman tungkol dun sa artwork na yon, you try to use expressivism. And the last is instrumentalism. From the term instrument, it is an approach that stresses the importance of social intention or utility of the work. When we say instrumentalism, or yun nga, ini-express nito social intention. Uh, if you know the Spolarium, yung painting the Spolarium, if you've been to the National Museum, okay? So, the Spolarium was painted in the time of the Spanish occupation. And it's a way of showing the torture or the very violence that was happening during that time. And it's instrumentalism. Okay, if you want to analyze it by in the approach of instrumentalism, you're going to have to look back to what type of society, okay, what type of society or what type of social problems were going on during that time. Dito po, like I said, katulad ng expressivism, this is very research heavy because you really need to look at the context of what is happening in the world around us. Okay? Or what is happening in the world during the time of painting that picture. Okay? Or sculpting that sculpture or performing that performance. Okay? Talagang again, parehas po sila ng uh, benefits and drawbacks or pros and cons ng expressivism. Pro, it's rich, it's complex. If you really want to get to know the artist and the artwork itself and history, you can use instrumentalism. But, of course, there is a lot of research to go through and connections to make between the piece of art and the society or the context in which art is created. Kasi nga po, ito yung sinasabi ko earlier that sometimes art is a product of context. Okay? So, when we say art is a product of context, kung ano yung nangyayari around us and or around the artist or in the life of the artist, it bleeds into their art. Okay? I myself, I'm not an artist, uh, but I'm a writer. So, the things that I experience personally, sometimes professionally, around the world, um, the things that I experience that's happening around me, that bleeds into my writing. And ganun din po sa art. And ganun din po kayo, I believe. 'Di ba? Kayo po ay naiimpluwensyahan ng mga nangyayari sa buhay ninyo. Okay? So if you're trying to make art, okay? Hindi tayong lahat, again, hindi lahat tayo artist. But if you're going to try to make art, okay, may impluwensyahan kayo ng mga nangyayari sa society ninyo. Okay? You're going to be your that your artwork is going to be a way for you to express the things that are going on in your society. So we can look at art in the instrumentalism approach as how it has been influenced by society. Okay? So tandaan, formalism, artwork lang. Hindi natin titignan ng kahit ano pa. Kung ano lang yung nakikita natin, yan lang ang i-analyze, yan lang ang i-critique. Okay? Next, expressivism. Aalamin natin kung ano yung gustong sabihin ni artist sa art na to. At i-analyze natin, nagawa ba niya? Na-express niya ba ng maayos? Maganda ba yung pagkaka-express o pangit yung pagkaka-express? That is what we try to analyze in expressivism. In instrumentalism, of course, we look at the society or the context in which the art was made. Ano ba yung nangyayari nung mga time na ginawa tong painting na to? At ano yung ano yung pwedeng parang ano yung pwedeng naging influence nun doon sa paggawa nitong artwork na ito. Okay? Ano yung na-influence ng society sa artwork na to? For example, a lot of artists I follow on Twitter and both in social media, in the time of the pandemic, in the height of quarantine and the pandemic, talagang makikita natin na they were really affected by this sudden change in our world na talagang they started painting a lot, parang biglang naging malungkot yung mga paintings kasi nga we were all inside. We were all scared of what was happening in our world. So that's, if we look at that in the instrumentalism point of view, makikita natin na, oh, this is a product of context. This is a product of an artist that was deeply affected by what was happening in society or what was happening in the world. Okay? So those are the approaches to art criticism. Do you have any questions about anything in our lesson, mga anak? I I realized that there is a certain depth to our lesson today. We are in the part of EAPP wherein we are having deeper discussions about analysis and beliefs. So yeah, so as much as possible, let's try to express those analysis carefully. So yan po, instrumentalism. So there are four basic components. So before we move on, there are four basic components to looking at art. Okay? So bago nyo simulan ang inyong criticism, tignan muna natin kung paano natin titignan ang art. So the first is the description. Of course, you need to describe exactly what you see. Okay? Walang paligoy-ligoy pa. Kung ano yung nakikita natin, a woman in a dark dress, on a light background, wearing pearl earrings. Okay, so that is exactly what you see. Describe only factual information about the artwork. When we say factual information, again, the difference between facts and opinions is that facts can be proven with evidence. So you need to describe something, and when I look at that certain piece of art, I need to see that tama yung description ninyo. You're not just making things up about that artwork. Of course, in your description, you need to include the title, art materials that were used. Ang tawag po dyan is media, okay? Or medium of the art. If it is a painting, a drawing, a sketch, a sculpture. So, ano yung media ang ginamit niya? Essentially, ano yung ginamit para mabuo yung art na yun. Sino yung artist, kailan ginawa, and location of the painting, drawing, or sculpture. Saan ginawa at saan siya nakalagay ngayon. Okay? Do not use judgments or opinions. Sa descriptions, wala po muna kayong ibibigay na opinion. So, hindi po kayo gagamit ng mga opinionated adjectives. When we say opinionated adjectives, these are adjectives that are subjective. For example, beauty. Ayan. Hey, beautiful. Kasi subjective yan eh. Hindi lahat ng beautiful sa'yo ay beautiful sa iba. Okay? So, try not to use those descriptions. Okay? So, try not to use those adjectives in your description. You can use words that are pertaining to size. Small, large. You can use adjectives pertaining to color, like black, blue. Yan. So, wag muna yung mga subjective. Yung pretty, beautiful, ugly. Yan. Wag po muna yan. Next is, after you i-describe, i-analyze na natin. You write about the elements and the principles of design. Or ano yung mga nakikita nyo? Is there too much color? Is there too little color? Is it black and white? Yung relationship between the subject that you mentioned and the description. So, paano yon? Sa descript, di ba, dinescribe nyo na siya. Ano yung mga bagay doon sa painting na yon that you think has relationships with one another? For example, sa Mona Lisa, is the Mona Lisa influenced or influenced by the background? Is there anything happening in the background of the Mona Lisa that is important to the message that the Mona Lisa is trying to express? So, pwede niyong i-analyze 'yon. Next, pwede niyo pong ilagay yung relationships as yan, size, shapes, colors, textures, volumes, spaces, etc. So, ano yung ibig sabihin ng bawat mountain? Ano yung ibig sabihin ng bawat element? Ano yung ibig sabihin ng bawat nakikita natin dito sa artwork na to. Whether you are using the formalist, the expressivist, or the instrumentalist approach, you need to make sure, excuse me, you need to make sure that that you analyze those elements correctly and how they relate to one another. Okay? So, si Mona Lisa naka-black. At, kung napapansin nyo, medyo parang may veil siya. So, is she mourning? Isa ba siyang widow? Okay? So, pwede nating i-analyze yan. Next, interpretation. Iba po ang analysis sa interpretation. Sa analysis, you are just looking at the relationships. Sa interpretation, this is your own opinion. Okay? You're giving your own personal interpretation, okay, about your ideas, your sensations, how you feel when you are looking at the art, okay? So, tandaan, analysis, you're just looking at the relationships between the elements. The interpretation, you are giving your own opinion of those elements and those relationships. Okay? So, for example, in your opinion, uh, uh, of course, dito, magbibigay kayo ng sorry. Of course, dito magbibigay na kayo ng strengths and weaknesses. Tandaan, there should always be strengths and weaknesses in a balanced criticism. If it's all weakness, hindi po yun balance. If it's all strength, hindi po yun balance. We need to be able to express ourselves in a balanced way when it comes to our opinions. Okay? Hindi tayo masyadong bias sa opinions natin. That's for another lesson. Okay? So, in criticism, we try to balance our opinions by giving our thoughts of the strengths and weaknesses. So, tandaan, so far meron tayong tatlo, description, the analysis, and the interpretation, and of course, we give our evaluation. Na-interpret nyo na, nabigay nyo na yung strengths and weaknesses. You give your overall conclusion by giving an evaluation of the text. You're going to hindi ka naman kayo magbibigay ng rating or ng grade, but you're going to express, okay? You're going to summarize what the art is about. You're going to state your own personal feelings and thoughts, and it is neither informed nor critical but simply an opinion. Okay? So, ibibigay nyo talaga yung overall opinion niyo. Okay? So, strengths, weaknesses, tapos in the evaluation, you give your overall opinion. So, tandaan, in the description, wala munang opinion yan. Description lang. Okay? Kung ano yung nakikita nyo dun sa art, yun yung isusulat nyo. In the analysis, you're going to analyze the relationship between the elements of the work, the background of the artist, what you think is the relationship between those elements. Next is the interpretation. You're going to give your own opinion of the strengths and weaknesses of a balanced critique. Okay? And last, in the evaluation, you're going to give your overall critique. Okay? So, overall na to, parang nasa conclusion part na kayo nito. So, those are the 4 elements or the 4 um, 4 basic components of looking at art. Okay? So, ayan. Wait lang. So, magkakaroon po tayo ng synchronous activity. So, I'm going to explain it and then you're going to do it. So, this will be by house. So, house Philip, Joseph, Elijah, um, house Philip, Joseph, Elijah, Barnabas, Samson, and kalimutan ko yung isa. um, Basta yan, yung 6 houses, sorry. You will have a group activity called Strengths and Weaknesses. So, gagawa po kayo ng graphic organizer with 2 columns. You can do that in Google Docs. Okay? And you will be given a set of performing arts videos to choose from. You will choose one and write three strengths and 3 weaknesses that you have seen in the video. Apply the components and approaches in art for the criticism of your critique. Okay? So, pwede po kayong, ayan. So, pwede nyo po itong gawin. I'll give you 20 minutes to do this. So, ito po yung mga pagpipilian yung videos. Okay? Yan po. Okay? So, ayan. So, 20 minutes. Pwede kayong mag-breakout. Okay, wait lang. Okay, so that's how you're going to be graded. Of course, the description, the interpretation, and the evaluation, and of course, the analysis of the artwork. Ayan. Yes, 'pag in-answer niyo yung question sa Google Classroom, kasi nga na-assign i-a-assign ko later, dapat magkakaparehas kayo ng answer kasi pare-parehas kayo ng ginawa doon sa activity. Okay? So, of course babasahin ko pa rin naman 'yan. Of course, ilagay niyo rin kung anong house kayo. For example, House Philip, tapos kung ano yung ano niyo, yung nilagay niyo na ano, nilagay niyo na or yung pinili niyong video. Tapos yung ano, yung inyong yeah. Sige, Carl. So, yan po. That's it for our synchronous activity. So, let's go on to our asynchronous activities, mga anak. So, let's have, of course, we're going to have a 10-item quiz, which will be assigned to you this afternoon, 4 p.m. And that due date is tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. Of course, madaling-madali lang po ang ating quiz. Hindi kailangan mangopya, pero kailangan mag-review. Okay? So, please try to take the quiz on time. And of course, we have an asynchronous activity. So, the asynchronous activity is individual, not like the earlier activity. Ito po ay individual, pero hahanap kayo ng partner. Ma'am, bakit individual tapos hahanap ng partner? Ganito po kasi yan. Let me explain. Okay? So, what you're going to do is you'll find a partner and each of you will create your own visual artwork. Okay? So, visual lang po muna. Let's refrain from performing arts right now because medyo mahirap mag-exchange ng performing arts. So, what you're going to do is create your own visual artwork. You can use any medium as long as you can express yourself well. So, pwede kayo mag-drawing and then picturean nyo tapos isend nyo dun sa partner ninyo, or you can make a sculpture, picturean nyo, send nyo dun sa inyong partner. So, magpapalitan kayo ng artwork. And then, once you have exchanged artworks, you are going to critique the artwork of each other. Okay? So, you're going to have, make sure that you label your artwork with your name. Sa para pag na-send na siya ng inyong partner, okay, alam ko kung sino yung partner ninyo. Okay? Bakit? Make sure that you're going to apply the art criticism approaches and the 4 basic components in looking at art in creating your critique. Wait lang. So, if I so I have here the draft of the activity. Same ano lang siya, same instructions lang siya as earlier. But, of course, may dinagdag lang ako dito. Each student shall submit 2 files. Dalawa po ang isasubmit yung file. One is the picture of the artwork of your partner. So, hindi nyo isasubmit yung sarili yung artwork. Ang magsasubmit ng artwork nyo ay yung partner nyo. And vice versa. So, for example, si Krypton, ang ano niya ay si Carl. Okay? Or si Lander. Ang partner niya ay si Lander. Na ngayon, mag-aano po sila, mag-exchange po sila ng artwork, then they will write a critique of the artwork they will write a critique of each other's artwork. Tapos si Lander, ipapasa niya yung artwork ni Krypton along with the critique that he wrote. And si Krypton naman, ipapasa niya yung artwork ni Lander along with the critique that he wrote for that artwork. So, kumbaga, ang ipapasa yung artwork ay yung sa partner nyo. Pero ang ipapasa yung critique ay yung sinulat nyo dun sa artwork na yun. Okay? So, ganun po. Due date natin is 1 week from now, December 9th. Of course. Sorry. Yes. Due date natin is December 9th. So, you have some time. And then, of course, we have that's more than 1 week from now. And then, of course, we have 25 points and our rubric so that you can see. Of course, we have the information, the introduction, the information summary, the critique itself, of course, the conclusion, and the organization and mechanics. So the introduction, how you introduce the work, the information summary, how you describe the work, how you analyze and interpret the work, the critique itself, how you have evaluated the work, and the conclusion, how you have given your overall evaluation and your overall idea or opinion of the work. And of course, organization and mechanics, this is how you have organized the ideas and how you have written. Writing mechanics, of course, the grammar, the spelling, the punctuation, all of that. Kasama po yan dyan. So that is how you're going to be graded. Again, we have a plagiarism checker or originality checker. So as much as possible. And I believe wala po kayong mahanap online at makaka-copy-paste online na art criticism ng artwork na originally made by your partner. Okay? So, ganun po. As much as possible, uh, express yourself in your own ideas. Let's not plagiarize or copy-paste anything. Okay? So, yan po. So, any questions on the asynchronous activity or this individual task that we have, the activity, the performance task? Do you have any questions about this? Wala na po?
Sana po.
Okay, thank you for affirming. Okay, so let's have I'll be assigning this. Ayan. So makikita nyo na 'yan. Um and then I'll be giving you the copy of the slides later.
Ma'am, excuse me po.
Yes. Yes.
Puwede po 'di ba po dun sa ano, performance task po, puwede po like hindi naman po plagiarism pero kumuha po ng reference as an idea po?
Yes, is where we're going to apply the paraphrasing and the acknowledgement of ano yung tinuro ko last time, 'di ba? Ipa-paraphrase mo yung source mo and then you're going to acknowledge the source or sabihin natin according to Plato. Tapos yung paraphrased version nung source mo. Ganun po, nak. Basta hindi pwedeng
Thank you po.
copy-paste. Thank you rin. Thank you for clarifying that kasi syempre kailangan alam natin kung ano yung limitations. Okay? So yan po. Any other questions? Yun din. Thank you for bringing that up. Syempre, kung gagawa po kayo nung ganon, okay? Kung gagawa po kayo ng ganon po yung gagawin niyo, kukuha po kayo ng reference as an idea for your criticism. As much as possible, you acknowledge the source, okay? You acknowledge where you got the idea from. And then give your own interpretation of that idea. Okay? Pwede po kayong mag-research lalo na kung ang gagamitin yung approach ay expressivism at um, instrumentalism. Kasi talagang kailangan nyo talagang mag-research on the background of the author and society for that. Okay? So, syempre, since those are historical records, hindi naman pwedeng sabihin na kayo ang source ng historical record na yun. So, as much as possible, give credit to the source. Okay? So, yun po. So, any more questions about our asynchronous activity and or our quiz or our lesson? Okay, wala naman po. Okay. So, kung wala na pong tanong, that is all for today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for attending our class. Now, I'd like to remind you again of our PTC schedule. It's posted in our GC. Ayan po. So, see you there na lang. So, maraming salamat po. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.